On today's PMEA's Take Note podcast, we begin our first in a series of previews of this year's PMEA All-State Festival on today's PMEA's Take Note podcast. And welcome to this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. And today we are talking about the PMEA All-State Festival, which coincides with the PMEA Annual Conference, which will be happening in April at Kalahari in the Poconos. And as part of that, we're doing a kind of one preview edition a month. So we're going to start today with someone that you very well may know if you've been to PMEA conferences, been involved in the All-State Festival, Lynne Peters. Good to see you. Good to have you with us.
Great. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, our All-State Coordinator.
Absolutely.
So we're going to start with you today talking about that, and then each month we are going to release another podcast at the beginning of the month where we talk to two of the All-State conductors on each podcast. So you're going to get a great preview from now through April of everything that's coming up. So
very exciting.
And there is a lot of exciting stuff happening,
yes,
as always. So let's start there. Let's talk about the 2023 All-State Festival. Certainly one of the signature things PMEA does, back at Kalahari for a second year.
Yes.
So give us the highlights. You know, tell us what students can look forward to as being part of this event.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say how exciting it is to be a member of the 2023 All-State Ensemble. We have jazz and vocal jazz, concert band, wind ensemble, orchestra, and chorus. So just to have, it's over 600 students. Actually, it's about 675. So those are the numbers that we work with. And we are very, very grateful to not only go back to the Poconos this year, but go to Kalahari. And for most of the part, we have the same hosts that we did last year. So it's been an absolute delight, working with them as well as their school districts to coordinate everything.
So talk about that a little bit. I don't know that people, let's go under the hood here of the All-State Festival. I don't know that people realize, we're going to talk a lot about what goes into it, but you're at every All-State Festival, you're working with local hosts, meaning
yes,
a local PMEA member and their school.
Correct.
And generally it's one per ensemble.
Correct.
That's a lot of parts to connect, months in advance.
It is, and not only months in advance, but sometimes years in advance. And PMEA normally rotates throughout the state of Pennsylvania. So sometimes we're not in the same area. Sometimes, obviously, it would not be the same host. There are some items that are the same. For instance, you're working on transportation coordination, you're working on meals, you're working on lodging, that sort of thing. And when people ask me what it is that I do, sometimes I say, I feel like I'm in the Army and I'm coordinating everything. And then other days I feel like it's the big top circus and I'm still coordinating. Right. So, the job of being a coordinator is to be able to coordinate and communicate and make sure that all those puzzle pieces fit together so that when the All-State students arrive to the All-State Festival, as well as their directors, that we hope that it's a seamless transition.
It's kind of like a lot of our members know, like what planning a band trip is like. So you're kind of planning a band trip, except with 675 kids, and you don't get to meet with them before they come, like all in the band room before you board the bus and go to Florida or whatever. So there's a lot of moving parts to what you're doing.
There are a lot of moving parts, and I always love to look at all of the rosters, and you start to recognize names and instruments, and it's always so rewarding to me when I go to the All-State Festival to associate a student
right,
with that name or a director. When directors ask questions, I'll say to them in an email response, and please stop by and introduce yourself to me. I feel like I'm just so blessed to have such wonderful directors from around the state of Pennsylvania, and some of them I never have met personally, but we have that email connection.
Sure.
And again, just to get that, I'm now seeing a face and a name and associate it with. My father used to say that I could travel up and down Interstate 80 and that, at every junction, if I would need help, I can usually say, well, I know this person at this school district and that sort of thing. So it's a great connection.
So let's kind of talk directly to the students who are going to be involved in this. Maybe some were there last year, but certainly not all of them that will be in the ensembles this year. What can they expect? What is this experience like, an all-state experience, and I guess specifically at Kalahari?
All righty. Well, every year we find ourselves in a flexible and change mode. And, last year we learned some things. It was our first time at Kalahari, first time coming back to meeting in person from the COVID pandemic. And so, I think that all of these festivals are learning experiences. So at Kalahari, all the students are going to be registering at the hotel. PMEA is taking care of their housing situation. And so they'll come in on Wednesday late afternoon into the evening with their directors so that they can register at their hotel for their room as well as their registration for the All-State Ensemble. They get their badge, that sort of thing. This year we're doing things a little bit differently. We have a mandatory meeting at 9 o'clock on Wednesday evening, and that is actually to welcome all of the All-State students and to congratulate them for being a member of the ensemble. So after we have that welcome, then we're going to have the announcing on Wednesday evening, not Thursday when you go to your first rehearsal. We will be announcing the seat placements on Wednesday evening, the seat rankings. So the students will be excused, they'll go to a separate room, and we're going to have our district presidents read the seat placements of the students. And that really is different than what we've ever done before. And if I can just interject this, we're doing this because I had 2 conductors this past year come to me and say, I really don't like this idea of you're starting your rehearsal with this is where you chaired, and now let's meet the conductor. And do you know what it's like, Mary Lynn, to be in my shoes and I walk up to that podium and I'm seeing some faces of joy and elation and others that are very, very sad. And he said it's really hard to get that momentum going again. We have to remember they are a member of a team, and it takes a team of the ensemble to make great music together. So that's why we made that change for this upcoming year, and I think it's going to work very, very well. Thursday morning, all the students will go off to their rehearsals for the day.
This is where the host sites come in that we talked about. They're going to go to a school somewhere, depending where their ensemble is.
Right. And most of the ensembles are within, host ensembles are within 15, 20 minutes. So that's really nice, too. They won't have to spend a long time on that bus. They'll be rehearsing all day at their host facility. They'll have their meals at the host facility, and then they'll come back on Thursday night, and I'm pretty excited to be able to announce this. The U.S. Army Band and Chorus will be in concert Thursday night for all of us. And what can I say? I just love that kind of atmosphere, and I love the any of our military organizations coming together to do a performance.
And so the All-State students will be in the room with all of the conference attendees for this concert, which we did that last year.
Yes.
Just the energy in the room is like nothing else.
Absolutely. It's a phenomenal experience. Friday morning, the students all have a chance to go and view the exhibits. They have to wear their badge, of course. That gets them their entry into the conference. And then they'll go and rehearse. And then Saturday, obviously, is the culmination, and we have concerts on Saturday. And the Jazz and Vocal Jazz, their concert is Friday evening. And I should also say that on Wednesday evening, they're going to arrive a little bit earlier on Wednesday, and then they're going to start their rehearsal on Wednesday. So another wonderful point about being at Kalahari is, yes, there's a water park.
Say, don't bury that. Yeah, we got to get that in there, right?
Yeah, there is a water park. So on Wednesday evening, once the students have registered, they're free to go to the water park until 9 o'clock. And I want you to know that I wanted to make sure that the jazz and vocals jazz students were going to get a chance to use the water park. So they're going to come back a little bit early on Thursday, and they'll be able to use the water park on Thursday. And then on Friday, anyone Friday night, can use the water park, and the jazz and vocal jazz students will have their concert on Friday night.
Yeah, and if you're not into the water park, well, first of all, I mean, it's worth it to go take just a look at it. It's an incredible facility, but it's just an incredible resort. There's just lots of other things to be doing right there contained in the building.
Absolutely. And, the grounds are beautiful. The artwork is unbelievable. The statues, it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful resort.
Yeah. So.
And I have to say, they're very much looking forward to us coming back. And I can remember this from last year, the security guards coming up to me and saying, we've never done anything like this before. They are phenomenal. And I just smile and say, yes, they are. So,
yeah, for sure. So to the students coming, soak this experience up.
Absolutely.
The ensemble experience, which is awesome in itself, but the location where you are, just explore what's there. It's a very cool place. So
it is, and it's such an opportunity to meet up with people you don't know from all across the state of Pennsylvania. And I need to bring this up. Back in the dinosaur age, when I was going to high school, I was attending PMEA festivals myself, and some of those people that I went to the festivals with are still my friends today. We went to college together. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited you're going to the same college that I am. And that's a real testament. And I think that when you talk to others that have participated in the PMEA festivals, that's one thing that they're going to say. Oh, I made new friends. And they tend to keep those friends.
Yeah, it's funny actually because, later in my career, I've been talking to people and they said, weren't you in this PMEA event? I was like, I was, and you remember that, and then we pull out the program and we were in this thing together. So I always say, save the program book so that you can look back on that, because you're going to run into these people in your lives.
Right.
Again, I mean, whether you're a music educator, a music major, whatever, you have this unique bond of being in these ensembles. So yeah, lots to look forward to there. So let's kind of broaden out and just talk a little bit more about the festival in general. So you're a retired music teacher who is taking on this role of the All-State Coordinator. So I guess I'm just kind of curious, favorite memories of the All-State Festival, maybe from when you were teaching or when you've been working, what's kind of when somebody says All-State Festival, what pops into your head as the memories?
So many things. One of my most recent memories was the connection that you get with the conductors. And in all honesty, you have to establish a rapport with the conductors and really communicate with them. And they need to know, what it is that you want, because they're working with high school students. And so a couple of memories. One is the playing of The Pines of Rome. See, I get all teared up because it was the most incredible performance. And you stand back there and you're like, wow, I can't believe these are high school students doing this. Another one is going to actually happen this year, and that is the Wind Ensemble is doing a piece by Aaron Prine, and it's called Only Light. And the last time I heard that, it's just the most beautiful ethereal piece, and it just put me to tears. And I was so, excited that we're going to do that again this year. There's just so many things that have happened, and the power of Facebook, Mark, is very important. And a lot of those conductors continue to have a relationship, with me. And, it just always brings back very fond memories.
Yeah, well, and more memories to be made for sure.
Absolutely.
So you were a music educator, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Actually, let's talk about that first. Give us the snapshot of your career here, because maybe people don't know the Mary Lynne before the All-State Coordinator.
I taught for 34 years, primarily in northwestern Pennsylvania, in the Crawford Central School District, which is in Meadville, Pennsylvania, and that's the home of Allegheny College. I taught chorus as well as orchestra, and I'm a strings player as well as a vocalist. And it was always a great joy for me to prepare my students for the PMEA festivals at all levels, and to take them to the district and the region and the state and All East, all of those festivals. And I can truly say that it was a joy for them also, and their parents. And it's really, really important. And I used to always say, I don't really care that you are going into music.
Right.
I just want it to be a part of your life. And I get such joy at that, to see former students now and how they are incorporating music some way in their lives.
Right.
Yeah.
So you do this career, and a lot of people retire and say, awesome, I'm done, I'm going to go move out west or something. But you said, no, I'm not done in this, and I'm going to come back and be the PMEA All-State Coordinator. So what prompted that decision to stay so involved?
I received a phone call in May before I retired from someone at PMEA, and they said, hey, listen, the All-State Coordinator is retiring, and why don't you think about applying for the job? And I thought about it for a little while, and I do have an arts management certificate, and so I thought, well, let's see what happens. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I really didn't have a lot on the horizon in retirement. I wasn't looking that far ahead. But so I created a resume, and I was called into an interview, and actually the interview was on the last day of my teaching career. So I had to take a personal day on the last day of my teaching career, and I went to the interview. It was over in the middle part of the state. It was actually at State College, and I was interviewed, and I do remember so many of the questions they were asking me, and one of them had to do something with traveling. And are you afraid to travel alone? Are you afraid to drive? And I remember saying to them, as soon as I'm done with this interview, I'm driving over to New York City. What? So, I'm very comfortable in driving, and still am. So, again, nothing ventured, nothing gained, but I remember when I received the phone call from Margaret Bauer, who was then PMEA's executive director, offering me the job.
Yeah, so how awesome. And I mean, I would say it's almost like your career then just didn't end. Like you just kind of did a new thing in music education.
Right, that's absolutely correct. And I think that one of the best ways I can approach it is that, again, you have to be flexible. You have to be able to pivot, on a dime, basically. You have to make decisions, and you have to be consistent.
Right.
So no matter where you go.
Yeah, for sure. And timing just has this way of making things happen, right? Like the timing was just right.
Absolutely.
Literally your last day of teaching.
Literally my last day of teaching is when I had the interview, and it just felt right.
Yeah. So okay, let's move out of the music ed world. So, you're another one of these people I don't think sleeps. Because you're constantly, you're doing so much for the All-State Festival, but you were doing so many other things. You perform every once in a while. I mean, there's that. Okay, that's a lot of people do that.
Right.
But you're doing a lot of other stuff outside of the music ed world. So tell us about that.
Yeah. These are two projects, I guess I want to say, that are very close to my heart. When I retired, that was the year that my school district thought that they were going to go into a pay-to-play situation. And I received a phone call from a retired teacher and said, we can't let them do this. So out of that, the Crawford Central Community Foundation was created 10 years ago, and it was designed to offer academic, artistic, and athletic experiences through grants that we would award. And the grants are up to $1,000, but the unique component of this grant is what's called a pay it forward. And so if we grant this request, then the students and their teachers have to band together and do something nice, something as a pay it forward. So again, we've been in existence for over 10 years. I'm currently the president again, and we have given out over $70,000 to these grant opportunities in the Crawford Central School District. So we're really tickled over that. And then the other thing that is really dear to my heart is that I am actually a member of the Lions organization. And as you know, Lions are very invested in vision and sight. And when I retired, I wanted to give back to my community in some way, and I felt that this was a good fit. I really enjoy what they do, what they stand for, and currently I'm the King Lion. Don't ever call me a lioness. I'm the King Lion, and we have about 56 active members in our organization that I help spearhead many community projects and fundraisers and just keep everyone together. And I also do PediaVision screening. And so it is a camera, it's about a $10,000 camera, and I'm able to look at children's eyes. We can screen as young as 6 months of age. And can screen their eyes to see if they potentially have an eye problem that needs addressed.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Boy. So, I mean, then that just leads up to the question of, do you actually sleep?
I do.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure, so I wanted to make sure we got that clear.
Oh, absolutely, I do.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the foundation thing for a second. Like, I really appreciate the one thing you said about academics, athletics, and the arts. Because to me, like, that's what school is, right? Like,
Yes.
It's all of those things. It's not one of them, it's all of them.
Yes.
And I think that's a really amazing thing that's kind of built, that's baked into what you're doing there.
Exactly. And I have to say that this year we've also added a new element, and it's wellness.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so we're getting grant requests for wellness
Awesome.
activities. And, if it's a great pay it forward, we're right on
Yeah,
it. And
how
we'll
cool.
grant that.
Yeah, so something replicable certainly for other areas. So,
Yes.
Well, Mary Lynne, thank you for joining us and talking about all of this. And I will tell folks, when you're at Kalahari and you see Mary Lynne, go introduce yourself.
Please.
Yeah, say hello. She'll be around. You're incredibly busy while you're there. There's a lot going on over those few days.
That's when I don't sleep.
Oh, okay. All right. I knew there was a time.
That's when I don't sleep.
Okay, I knew I'd get to the bottom of it. I knew there was time. But thanks for joining us and
Thanks,
for all the
Mark.
work you do for PMEA and for your community as well.
Thanks, Mark. It's been a great interview today.
Yeah, great to see you.
Take note.
That's right. That's right. See, she knows. She got this down. All right. And thank you all for joining us on this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast. We want to thank our sponsor, the Grove City College Department of Music. We'll see you next time.